Hello, I am Patrick Elsing. I am a senior at Arcadia University and I'm a health administration major. And today we are here with Andrea Green of Andrea Green Music, and she is a composer, playwright, music therapist, and musical director. So Andrea, thank you so much for doing this interview with us, and if you could tell us a bit about Andrea Green Music and what it is exactly that you do.
Hi, Patrick. It's a
Hi.
pleasure to meet you. I have for 30 years been writing musicals as vehicles to bring children together, diverse groups of children together in partnership. And the purpose of Andrea Green Music is to offer opportunities for children, all children, to participate in musical theater, but at the same time have an experience of learning about other children and the importance that every person should play a part and every person is important to the entire piece. Every single one of my musicals are kind of metaphorical stories. The themes, the stories have to do with working together, taking challenges on together, and no matter what your ability level is, that it's your passion and your caring and the amount of effort and that you put into it and how you support other people that is really at the heart of why makes these musicals are important. I create them in a way so that everyone is included on the stage, and even the way I write the songs, there's a lot of supporting things going on. Like there's a child will sing and then the group will sing back. So I want every kid to feel like, you know what, we're all here together and we are a community. And I guess in terms of what makes Andrea Green Music important today is that in the world today where there's so much division and where a lot of kids feel alienated, when they participate in these musicals with these stories that embrace diversity and acceptance, and when they're standing there side by side helping each other, my hope is that these children will have these experiences, these relationships through the musical that will then lead them to seeing people differently, to accepting people, and to embrace themselves. And none of us are perfect, but that's another element in my musicals, is that there's a lot of improvisation and there's a lot of opportunities for kids to not feel like, oh, I have to be perfect here, that it's okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a much needed message, and it's amazing that you're doing this. So how did you really get into theater, and then specifically how did you get into the idea that you want to help everyone get involved, children especially?
When I was a child, I was very lucky to have parents that were very loving. My father was a doctor. My mother was a musician. She was a violinist. Both very musical, into the arts and everything. And they supported the fact that I was a very musical kid, equally shy. I know it's hard to believe,
Yeah.
but I hardly spoke when I was a kid. I was very self-conscious, and but when it came to music, it was like something that I did well, and I felt good about myself. My father would take me, he would say, Andrea, get your guitar, and he would take me with him to nursing homes and hospitals, and he would say, go into this room, meet my patient, just take your guitar out and play music. And that's what I did. And I realized that there was something in me that was good, or felt very comfortable connecting with people that I didn't know through the music. And I started to write songs with them and ask them, people would share with me about how they were feeling, how they felt isolated. So going forward, in high school, I worked at a hospital. It's called Moss Rehabilitation Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I did an internship there where I continued this kind of idea of like, wow, music really has the ability to connect people. I'm feeling like I'm connecting to people, and I got interested in music therapy. I also participated in a singing group that was run by Bob Kaiserman.
The man.
Bob Kaiserman, who was an extraordinary guy, who was able to bring together all these kids who loved to make music and sing. And we would gather at his home and socialize. We were the music kids. And then he coordinated this whole, he formed a group called the Young Set, where we performed in nursing homes and hospitals. And we really, for years, this group, stayed together until, I guess, Bob graduated high school, and I was a year behind him. But that also definitely impacted me again. Here's another time where I'm out there and I'm saying, music can play a role beyond just, what people typically see.
Yeah.
And then I went to school. I'm not going to go through the whole long story, but then I went to school. I majored in music therapy. Then I graduated and I got a master's degree in creative arts and therapy here in Philadelphia.
So now we know that Mr. Kaiserman has been launching people's careers since he was in high school. And that's pretty impressive.
That's for Bob.
So where are your plays performed? Is it high schools, middle schools, or just elsewhere?
My musicals are performed in schools across the country, and also in theaters. A lot of theaters have a children's theater area through the education department of theaters. And also there are some adult theater groups that are doing my shows for children.
And you mentioned that you have some international plays going on, musicals.
Right.
Yeah.
Last summer, I went to Estonia because a theater company over there discovered my musical. Three of my musicals are published by Samuel French, which is a well-known theatrical publisher. On the Other Side of the Fence, The Return of Halley's Comet, and Homeroom the Musical. A woman in Estonia whose name is Franka Vakum, she discovered The Return of Halley's Comet on the Samuel French website, and she lives in Estonia, which is a country that's gone through a lot of changes, persecution over the years. The changes. It's an independent country, but it's gone through a lot of hell. And she found Halley's Comet, which is really a story I wrote. These aliens, these alien creatures come into this town, and they're nonverbal. And they're really there just looking for a friend. But the story's about how this town deals with these aliens. And I wrote it initially for my work with children with disabilities, how a lot of people have fears about people with disabilities, what the reaction is when you see somebody who has a disability, the fear and the unknown. But Franka in Estonia picked Halley's Comet because she felt that the aliens represented what she has felt in her country about being, there's a word I'm thinking of, but not being treated respectfully, or also just all the changes that were going on. She felt that the piece reflected what her country was going through, which was like, wow. So she translated Return of Halley's Comet, and she performed it last year. And tonight, she's doing the premiere of another musical of mine called The Same Sky, which is about fabrics that come together to create something extraordinary, these diverse fabrics. It's opening tonight in Estonia. So it's really exciting.
So, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times in musicals, I love musicals, most of them that I've seen are, even if they are intended for children, they'll be acted by adults. Why do you specifically make plays for children to act out with messages to other children?
I think I'm kind of a kid in
Makes
many
two of
ways.
us.
Okay, and I feel that probably I so can relate to what kids are going through today. And over the years, I felt that I needed to write something that really reflects what the kids are feeling, what they're going through. You know, the stories should be appropriate in terms of I think they need to be realistic as to what the kids' feelings are and what kids are going through. Like I do a lot of my musicals. Like before bullying, came around. Today there's a lot of anti-bullying programs, which is great. But my musicals do address those issues. That kids standing up for themselves, kids being, connecting with other people, seeing other people. I'm a person too. That kind of thing. So the stories, the themes, the characters, I feel that kids can do musical theater even better when they feel like they relate to it, like it has something to do with their lives. Yeah, it's great to do, to play, one of these other shows and play a character, and to learn about, getting into a character that's totally not you. But I think, I think that kids get into it more when it's written to actually reflect the issues and the feelings that they have. The other thing that I want to say is that the way that I craft, you might say, or the way I construct the framework of the musical, I do that in a specific way for young children, elementary and teenagers, so that there's a structure to it where the songs are strong, kids stay connected throughout the whole thing. There's probably a little less dialogue than other shows, and that there's this the way that it's structured just keeps kids constantly on the stage, and where there's lots of parts for lots of kids, and even the songs. Kind of like with I'm a Person, I try to constantly have the whole group in every song. So even though there's a solo, the group is always reflecting back so that everybody feels this support. We work together. We're a community. This is life. This is eventually the world you're going to go into. Mm-hmm. We're all important here. There's not 3 people soloing on the stage and everybody else is in the wings. And then they come in, for their one chorus number. I want kids to see that it should be that everybody is important here. Mm-hmm. So that's how I write these shows.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference between what you do and other theater for young adults or young children. It's that you get everyone involved, and I think that's the most interesting thing about what you do. And
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I think we touched on a lot of different things. Is there anything else you want to add that you can think of? I know you went to Las Vegas and you just won a gold medal, and I think you should talk about that.
But for 30 years, I've been working at the HMS School for Children with Cerebral Palsy. And I partnered them with Germantown Friends School Children. For 30 years, those 2 schools have worked together where they've participated in these musicals that I've written for the purpose of them finding empathy, understanding, acceptance, and unity together. And it's been 30 years, and that's a whole other story at another time that I would love to tell you. But about 3 years ago, I met a man named Henry Nevison, who's a film producer. And I told him about this work that I've been doing and it's been 30 years that I've been doing this project every year with these 2 schools. And all my musicals kind of developed from that project. It expanded to other places. That was really like my pilot that just kind of really, every year developed in many, many ways. And when I told Henry about it, he said that he'd like to come and see, a rehearsal. So he came over to the HMS school and he was like blown away. He said, I've got to do a film on this, and the train's leaving the tracks. You're just starting these rehearsals. I'm going to come and do this. Even if I don't have any funding, I'm just going to come and I'm going to film the process of this. I'm not going to lose this. This is something that everybody needs to see because it's so powerful. These kids working together. So he came and he filmed the whole entire rehearsal process. The kids, interacting all the way up to the performances, and the incredible thing that happened next was we did a Kickstarter for 30 days, and we raised all the money we needed to get this film then edited, and the film was completed. It's an hour documentary. It's called On the Other Side of the Fence. It's also the name of my first musical that I wrote in 1982 called On the Other Side of the Fence. And other people are connected to this. Kerry Hanlon and Howard Blumenthal. The four of us kind of became this film group to get this film. Once it was all filmed, then it was, what do we do with it next? So the amazing thing that happened was it was submitted, and it just won. This is why I went to Las Vegas. It just won the gold medal from the New York International Film Festival as a documentary about social issues. And it also won the bronze medal from the United Nations for exemplifying the ideals and the mission of the United Nations.
Absolutely amazing. That's
Yeah.
so awesome. So where can people go to get more information about Andrea Green music?
You can go to andreagreenmusic.com, and also there is a website for the documentary, which is on the other side of the fence.com. You can learn, but if to know about my musicals, to get in touch with me, I do a lot of, I'm very open to collaboration, and I love connecting with other talented people. I'm always writing new material. I love to present at conferences, and I am going to be doing a lot this year presenting at conferences, but all of those things you can kind of see on my AndreaGreenMusic.com website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank
You're
you
awesome.
so much. Thank you. I'm a person just like you.
I'm a person